Let me ask you a question. Do you remember a time when the day felt like it had no end? When you had energy to spare from sunup to sundown? And now, do you find yourself hitting a wall around 2 or 3 in the afternoon? That familiar wave of fatigue that washes over you, making the rest of your day feel like a mountain to climb. You might pour another cup of coffee, or just try to push through it, telling yourself it's just a normal part of life, a natural consequence of getting older. But what if it's not? What if there was a simple, strategic tool you could use to reclaim that afternoon energy, to sharpen your mind, and to make your retirement years as vibrant and productive as you always hoped they would be? I'm talking about the nap. But I know what you might be thinking, because you've seen the headlines. One day, napping is a miracle cure for fatigue. The next, a shocking new study links afternoon naps to a higher risk of heart disease, cognitive decline, or worse. It's confusing, it's contradictory, and for anyone who just wants straightforward, no-nonsense advice, it can be downright frustrating. You might even harbor a quiet concern that needing a nap is a sign of weakness or laziness, or that it's the first step on a slippery slope to losing your edge. And if you've ever told yourself, well, this is just part of getting older, I'm here today to respectfully challenge that idea. Over the next few minutes, we are going to cut through all of that noise. We're not here for quick fixes or health fads. We are here for an honest, in-depth conversation about the power nap. We're going to treat this topic with the seriousness it deserves, looking at what institutions like the Mayo Clinic and the Sleep Foundation have to say, and diving into the real science behind it all. We're going to dismantle the myths and address the legitimate concerns, especially those for older adults. My promise to you is this. By the end of this video, you won't just understand if you should nap. You will understand precisely how to use a short, strategic nap as your personal secret weapon for all-day energy, improved memory, and enhanced focus. We'll start by tackling the controversy head-on, looking at why some naps can be harmful. Then, we'll uncover the 20-minute rule and the science that makes it work. We'll even explore a surprising finding that napping just once or twice a week might be better than napping every day. We'll talk about how to create the perfect nap environment, when a nap is a sign you need to see your doctor, and we'll directly address those fears about napping being linked to cognitive decline. This is your comprehensive guide to mastering the nap, so you can master your day. And a quick but important reminder. I am not a doctor, and this video is for informational purposes only. The goal here is to share credible, evidence-based information to empower you to have more informed conversations with your own healthcare provider. Your health is unique, and you should always consult with your trusted doctor before making any significant changes to your health routine. So let's get right into it. The first thing we need to do is walk straight into the storm and acknowledge the controversy. It feels like every other week there's a new headline designed to make us second-guess ourselves. You read one article praising the power nap, and then you see another that sounds a terrifying alarm. A recent review of studies published in the Journal of the American Heart Association, for example, found some pretty sobering connections. It suggested that naps longer than an hour were linked to a 30% greater risk of all-cause death and a 34% higher likelihood of cardiovascular disease compared to not napping. When you read a statistic like that, it's perfectly reasonable to think, well, that's it, no more naps for me. It's just not worth the risk. It feeds directly into that fear that napping is a sign of some underlying frailty, that it's a habit of the unhealthy. But here is where the nuance is so incredibly important, and it's what often gets lost in those splashy headlines. The key words in that research are naps longer than an hour. What sleep scientists and cardiologists are beginning to understand is that these very long naps might not be the cause of the health problems, but rather a symptom. Think about it this way. If you consistently feel the need to sleep for an hour or more in the middle of the day, it's a very strong signal that something is off with your nighttime sleep. You could be suffering from severe sleep deprivation or an undiagnosed condition like sleep apnea, which repeatedly stops your breathing throughout the night, putting immense strain on your heart and your body. So in this context, the long nap isn't the villain. It's a red flag. It's your body's emergency alert system screaming that it's not getting the restorative rest it needs at night. So instead of seeing this scary data as a reason to fear all naps, we should see it as a powerful reason to pay attention to the type of nap we're taking. This distinction is the entire foundation of using a nap for health, rather than having it be a sign of poor health. This brings us to the most crucial piece of the puzzle, the 20-minute rule, and the science that makes it the gold standard. The magic of the beneficial nap lies almost entirely in its length. Experts from the Mayo Clinic to the National Sleep Foundation overwhelmingly agree that the sweet spot for a power nap is right around 20 to 30 minutes. Why so specific? It has everything to do with our natural sleep cycles. When you first fall asleep, you enter the lighter stages of what's called non-rapid eye movement, or NREM, sleep. Think of your brain's journey into sleep, like walking down a path into a deep valley. The first 20 minutes or so are a gentle downward slope. During this time, your brain waves start to slow down, your muscles relax, and your body gets a chance to do some light housekeeping. This is the stage where you get the primary benefits of a nap: a boost in alertness, enhanced performance, improved mood, and sharper focus. You are giving your brain a quick, refreshing reboot without shutting the whole system down. But if you sleep much longer than that 30-minute mark, you start heading down into the deep part of the valley. You transition into the deep, slow-wave stages of sleep. Waking up from this stage is like being forcefully pulled out of that deep valley. The result is that groggy, disoriented, sometimes even more tired feeling that can ruin the rest of your afternoon. This phenomenon has a scientific name: sleep inertia. It's the transitional state between sleep and wakefulness, and when you're jarred out of deep sleep, it can temporarily impair your cognitive function and reaction time for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. I'm sure we've all experienced this. You lie down for what you thought would be a quick rest, and you wake up an hour and a half later feeling foggy, confused, and irritable, wondering what day it is. That is sleep inertia in action, and it's the #1 reason people conclude that napping just isn't for me. But it's not the nap that failed you. It was the length of the nap. By keeping it to that 20-minute window, you're essentially getting all the benefits of that gentle downward slope without falling off the cliff into the deep valley. You wake up just as your body is about to shift into that deeper sleep, leaving you feeling refreshed and ready to go, not groggy and confused. It's a precision tool, and like any tool, it works best when you use it as intended. Now that we understand why a short nap is the way to go, let's look at something even more fascinating: the frequency. We often think that if something is good for us, doing it more must be better. But recent research suggests that when it comes to napping and heart health, that might not be the case. This leads to a truly surprising finding: the case for the occasional nap. A large study conducted in Switzerland and published in the prestigious medical journal Heart followed thousands of adults for several years. What they found was a genuine paradox. People who napped once or twice per week actually had a lower risk of having a heart attack, stroke, or heart failure compared to people who didn't nap at all. But here's the kicker: That benefit seemed to disappear for people who napped more frequently, say 6 or 7 days a week. This is the kind of nuanced finding that pragmatic Paul in all of us needs to hear. It's not a simple napping is good or napping is bad equation. The relationship is more complex. The researchers themselves speculated on a few reasons for this. It could be that for people who only need a nap occasionally, it acts as a genuine stress reliever. On a particularly taxing day, a short nap helps to release that pressure, lowering blood pressure and calming the nervous system, which over time is protective for the heart. However, for those who feel the need to nap every single day, it might once again be a sign of an underlying issue, like insufficient nighttime sleep or another health problem that puts them at a higher risk to begin with. So the daily napping isn't causing the heart problems, but it's correlated with a lifestyle or health status that is less than ideal. What this means for you is a sense of freedom. You don't have to feel pressured to schedule a nap into every single day to get a benefit. In fact, listening to your body and taking a short 20-minute power nap only on the days you truly feel you need that extra boost might be the most heart-healthy strategy of all. It reframes the nap from a rigid daily requirement into a flexible, responsive tool you can deploy when necessary. It's about working smarter, not harder, even in your retirement. It empowers you to be the expert of your own body, taking the strategic rest when you need to recharge, rather than following a one-size-fits-all rule. All right, let's just take a quick pause here. We are a few steps into our journey and we've already uncovered some critical information. We've acknowledged that those scary headlines about long naps are valid, but they're likely a symptom, not a cause. We've established that the 20-minute rule is your golden ticket to avoiding that dreaded grogginess by staying out of deep sleep. And we've just discovered the fascinating possibility that napping just once or twice a week might be the sweet spot for cardiovascular health. This is all about replacing fear and confusion with facts and strategy. If you're finding this deep dive helpful and it's clearing things up for you, I would be so grateful if you took just a moment to tap that like button below. It really helps the channel reach more people who, just like you, are looking for credible, no-nonsense health information. Thank you for that. Now let's continue with a point that cannot be overstated. A power nap is a wonderful supplement, but it is absolutely not a cure for poor nightly sleep. I want you to think of your total rest like your financial budget. A full night of good restorative sleep is your main source of income. It's what pays all the major bills: cellular repair, memory consolidation, hormone regulation, and so much more. A power nap, on the other hand, is like a small, unexpected bonus check. It's fantastic. It can help you pay for a little extra, in this case, an afternoon of alertness and productivity. But you absolutely cannot run your entire household on bonus checks alone. If you consistently find yourself needing a nap just to function, if you feel perpetually exhausted despite getting 7 or 8 hours in bed, that is a major red flag that your main source of income is in trouble. Chronic daytime sleepiness is not a character flaw. It is a medical symptom. It can be a sign of many things, but one of the most common and serious culprits, especially as we get older, is obstructive sleep apnea. This is a condition where the tissues in your throat relax and block your airway during sleep, causing you to stop breathing for short periods, sometimes hundreds of times a night. Your brain then jolts you just enough to start breathing again, but you rarely remember these awakenings. The result is an incredibly fragmented, unrefreshing night of sleep that leaves you exhausted the next day, no matter how long you were in bed. It also puts a tremendous strain on your cardiovascular system. Other potential issues could include restless leg syndrome, insomnia, or even side effects from certain medications. So here is your action step. If your need for a nap feels less like a strategic choice for a little boost and more like a desperate necessity to survive the day, it's time to talk to your doctor. Don't just say, "I'm tired." Be specific. Tell them, "I'm experiencing significant daytime sleepiness, and I'm concerned it might be more than just normal fatigue." This gives them a clear signal to investigate further. A power nap is a tool for optimizing a good foundation, not for patching over a crumbling one. Taking care of your nightly sleep is the single most important thing you can do for your daytime energy. Understanding that a nap is a supplement, not a substitute. Let's talk about the practical side of things. How do you actually take the perfect power nap? It's not always as simple as just closing your eyes. Creating the right environment is key to ensuring you can fall asleep quickly and get the maximum benefit in that short 20-minute window. Think of it like a pre-flight checklist for your brain. First, you need to manage light. Our brains are hardwired to associate light with wakefulness. So find a dark space. This could be your bedroom with blackout curtains, or you could simply use a comfortable eye mask. The goal is to send a clear signal to your brain that it's time for a brief rest. Second is sound. An unexpected noise is one of the fastest ways to jolt you out of that light, restorative sleep. If your home isn't naturally quiet in the afternoon, consider using earplugs or a white noise machine. The constant, gentle hum of a fan or a white noise app can mask sudden sounds like a dog barking or a car door slamming, creating a peaceful sonic cocoon. Third, consider the temperature. Most sleep experts, including those from the Cleveland Clinic, agree that a cool room is more conducive to sleep. Your body temperature naturally dips as you fall asleep, and a cool environment helps facilitate that process. You don't need to make it freezing, but a slight drop in temperature can help you drift off more easily. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, is the timing. The ideal time for a nap for most people is in the early afternoon, roughly between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. This is typically after lunch, when you experience a natural dip in your circadian rhythm, that internal body clock that regulates your sleep-wake cycle. Napping at this time works with your body's natural rhythm. If you try to nap too late in the afternoon, say after 4 p.m., you run a serious risk of disrupting your nighttime sleep. It can make it much harder to fall asleep at your regular bedtime, which then creates a cycle of daytime fatigue the next day, making you need another nap. The goal is for the nap to serve your night's sleep, not to steal from it. Now I want to speak directly to a concern that I know is on the minds of many of our viewers, especially those of us over 60. It's the elephant in the room that we touched on earlier. The research that links more frequent or longer napping to a higher risk of cognitive issues like Alzheimer's disease. I want to be very clear. It is completely understandable to feel a sense of fear or anxiety when you hear that. Our cognitive health is precious, and any potential threat to it should be taken seriously. Many people read those headlines, and their immediate, well-intentioned reaction is to ban napping altogether, just to be on the safe side. But this is where we need to apply that empathetic sandwich I mentioned. Your concern is valid, but let's look at what the science actually says and reframe this not as a reason for fear, but as a tool for empowerment. The key thing to understand is that these studies show a correlation, not a causation. This is a critical distinction. It means that while the two things are happening at the same time, the research has not proven that the naps are causing the cognitive decline. In fact, many neuroscientists and sleep experts believe the relationship is likely the other way around. Early preclinical stages of conditions like Alzheimer's can disrupt the brain's sleep-regulating centers. This can lead to poorer quality nighttime sleep, which in turn causes more daytime sleepiness and a greater need for naps. So in this scenario, The increased napping isn't the cause of the problem. It's an early warning symptom of an underlying process that is already beginning. So, how do we turn this knowledge from something scary into something empowering? You become the lead researcher of your own health. Instead of fearing naps, you become mindful of your napping patterns. If you've always been a person who enjoys a brief 20-minute nap a few times a week and you feel great afterwards, there is absolutely no current evidence to suggest you should stop. However, if you notice a significant change in your sleep patterns, if you suddenly go from not needing naps to desperately needing long naps every single day, or if you find yourself sleeping for hours in the afternoon and still feeling tired, that change is your data point. That is the signal. It's not a reason to panic. It's a reason to have a proactive conversation with your doctor. You can go to them and say, I've noticed a significant change in my sleep patterns and my need for naps recently, and I'd like to understand why. This approach transforms you from a passive recipient of scary headlines into an active, empowered manager of your own well-being. It's about being observant, not afraid. Finally, let's address the cultural baggage that comes with napping, especially here in the United States. There's often a subtle, or sometimes not so subtle, feeling of guilt associated with taking a nap. It can feel self-indulgent, unproductive, or even lazy. For a generation that built their lives on hard work and diligence, the idea of sleeping in the middle of the day can feel fundamentally wrong, like you're slacking off. My own father, a man who worked tirelessly his whole life, saw his retirement as a time to finally get things done, and he initially viewed an afternoon nap as an admission of defeat. It's so important to recognize that this is a largely cultural belief, not a biological truth. In many other cultures around the world, the midday rest, or siesta, is a deeply ingrained and respected part of the daily rhythm. It's understood as a strategic way to recharge and improve productivity for the remainder of the day, not as a sign of laziness. In fact, even here in the US, some of the most forward-thinking companies are now installing nap pods for their employees because they've recognized what the science shows. A short, strategic rest can lead to better work, more creativity, and fewer mistakes. So I encourage you to consciously give yourself permission to let go of that guilt. You have earned this time, and choosing to take a 20-minute power nap isn't lazy. It is a highly intelligent, strategic decision to invest in your own well-being. It's a way of saying, my energy, my focus, and my health are my top priorities, and I am going to use every effective tool available to protect them. It's a shift from seeing rest as a liability to understanding it as a vital component of a productive and joyful life. So, where does this leave us? We started this conversation surrounded by a cloud of confusing headlines and legitimate concerns. But by looking at the evidence, we've navigated our way to a place of clarity and control. You now know that the secret weapon isn't some magic pill, but a misunderstood tool that requires precision. Your first win is knowing that the danger lies in long, uncontrolled naps, which are often a red flag for poor nighttime sleep, not in the nap itself. Your second win is mastering the 20-minute rule, your key to unlocking all the benefits of alertness and focus without the groggy side effects of sleep inertia. You've also gained the surprising insight that less can be more, that an occasional nap might be the best approach for your heart health. Most importantly, you are now empowered. You can look at your own napping habits not with fear, but with mindfulness. You know what to watch for, and you know that a change in your sleep patterns is simply a signal to have an informed conversation with your doctor. You have reframed the nap from a sign of laziness or decline into a strategic, intelligent act of self-care. You are in the driver's seat of your health, and this is just one more tool you can now use with confidence to make sure your retirement is everything you want it to be, full of energy, mental clarity, and the freedom to enjoy every single day. Now, I would love to hear from you. Which of these points was the biggest aha moment for you? Was it the 20-minute rule, the idea of the occasional nap, or reframing the link to cognitive health? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Reading your experiences and insights is one of the best parts of making these videos. And if you enjoyed this deep dive and want more no-nonsense, evidence-based content to help you stay healthy and empowered, please be sure to hit subscribe and ring that little notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Be well, stay empowered, and I'll see you in the next video.